In the ninth, Tommy Byrne is only an out away from victory. And it's all over when Hodges goes down swinging. The Yankees win 4-2 and lead in the series 2-0.
In the autumn of our innocence, late September's legions came alive to wage real but bloodless civil war in that World Series of '55.
Berra, who has been a continual threat at the plate with 9 base hits to his credit, opens the New York fourth with a fly to short left center, and it drops for a double between Gilliam and Snyder. But Padres...
It's amazing that it's still remembered the way it is.
It was a slower paced time of life.
We never thought the Yankees were better than us. They just seemed to win the odd game.
We keep going, we're going to do it. We're going to win sometime.
This is the story of one era not quite over and yet another not yet begun, and of how 2 baseball teams came to represent the hopes and dreams of a nation in transition. It is the tale of how an ordinary group of men faced extraordinary circumstances. This is the story of 1955 and the World Series between the New York Yankees and the Brooklyn Dodgers.
I always contend that baseball is just really a reflection of society.
Over 20 years of hard times, years of depression, war, and death, had blossomed into peace at last. And now our nation caught its breath.
At the beginning of 1955, after the Great Depression and 2 wars, America was enjoying a well-deserved period of peace and prosperity.
Life in the 50s was laid back. Today, everything's rush, rush, rush.
Mom, apple pie, and baseball.
If you listen to old broadcasters from radio days, the pace is very slow. You think, gee, is that the way it was? Because now today we got this rapid fire, we got all this film, we got all this personal stuff going on. So I think the pace of life was different.
Thanks to the GI Bill, millions of Americans who served in the military were afforded the opportunity to go to college. This sparked an explosion in the growth of employees called white-collar workers.
It seemed like, $50 a week salary working got me as much as it does today.
But labor jobs were plentiful as well. In working-class communities, a factory job often meant a lifetime of steady work at decent wages, and baseball players were no exception.
These guys, they were not making big salaries. We had to work in the off-season. We had to get jobs. You were a star in Brooklyn, you got to get a job in the wintertime.
A lot of them worked in factories, a lot of them worked in farms, a lot of them worked in local stores. Yogi Berra worked in a automobile dealership. Phil Rizzuto worked as a clothing salesman.
I had 2 jobs. I sold cars and sold television sets in the off season.
My first full year, I made $140 a month. Now when I tell this to people, they say, you mean $140 a week? I said, no, 140 a month. But at that time, we thought we were millionaires making 140 a month playing baseball.
Players had to make a living from October through March. So the relationship between the fans and the players was much more connected.
Whether they were pencil pushers or pipe fitters, most Americans were united by a single passion, the game of baseball. And in 1955, 2 teams, more than any others, came to represent the competing values of blue and white-collar workers, the New York Yankees and the Brooklyn Dodgers.
The Yankees represented business interests, and they were corporate America. We were blue-collar Brooklyn.
One team of men was held the gem of all who played this diamond game. They wore pinstripes of big business and showed accounts in Prophet's name, Ruth and Gehrig and DiMaggio. Some of baseball's undisputed best had passed their dominant tradition on to Mantle, Berra, and the rest.
There is a saying that goes, nothing succeeds like success. And those 4 words perfectly describe the American League's New York Yankees.
You know, Yankees were a great club, and anyone who would try to say they weren't would be very, very crazy.
I always avoid saying this Yankee team was lucky. They weren't lucky. They were an outstanding professional group, and they always seemed to get the right thing out of the right people.
It was a Yankee way of doing things. There was really a cold corporate image that the Yankees projected, but the bottom line was they were there to win.
Casey Stengel, the old professor, had already managed the Yankees to 5 consecutive World Series titles. An infield that included Phil Rizzuto, Billy Martin, and Yogi Berra was complemented by pitchers like Whitey Ford and Tommy Byrne. And of course, there was a young farm boy named Mickey Mantle who knew a thing or two about hitting home runs. When the Yankees took the field, they were expected to win, and it was every other team's greatest desire to bring these gods of baseball back down to earth.
There's no intimidation. Respect, I don't even know if we had respect for the Yankees. We had this mystery feeling about, hey, look at us and look at them. We could beat them. Why? What's going on?
Another saying, everybody loves a winner, would neatly sum up the typical Yankee fan. And for them, the Yanks had come to represent a certain swagger and cockiness that had always been present in the American psyche.
We hated them. We hated the other New York teams. The Giants we hated the most because they were in the National League. There was a rivalry with the Dodgers. You had fights with the other kids.
Today, the Yankee fans are perceived as arrogant Yankee fans, you know, which is probably true.
The Yankees, to us, they were the enemy. We didn't like them, we wouldn't go see them.
It depends on, you know, your dictionary definition or your own definition of hate. I think on the old 0 to 10 scale, I think 9.9 would be pretty accurate. And it's still there, and now it's almost 10.
I think that a Yankee fan, at least in those days, and possibly even to today, is the type of person that wants to root for a winner. They can't handle losing. They can't handle failure. They look for perfection. Whereas the Dodger fan would be much like anybody today that roots for the underdog. You know, it's American to root for the underdog.
The other team, of less renown, boys from across the trolley tracks, were 5 times the Bombers' victims and now wore monkeys on their backs. Dem bums, as they were called by some, had become known by those defeats. So they were put at distant odds to best the business-like elites.
The 1955 Brooklyn Dodgers, on the other hand, represented a different side of the American way of life. One of the most successful franchises in the National League, the Dodgers made it to the World Series on 7 previous occasions, but had never walked away world champs. Adding to the sting of defeat was the fact that they had lost the last 5 of those contests to their crosstown rivals, the New York Yankees.
We lost the 49, 52, 53 series, so we lost 3, but 47, 41, you keep going back to the late 1890s, 10 times national champions, world champions, 0. So that's what we were facing in 55.
I never thought that there was a curse on the Dodgers when they were playing the Yankees.
It was just darn bad luck.
Totally luck.
A lot of the times the Yankees would get a break. You know, a ball would drop in here, a ball would drop in there. That was an excuse that the Dodger fans would use, that the Yankees were lucky.
They were just lucky, that's all.
Under the leadership of sophomore manager Walt Alston, the Dodgers had some great talent. Jackie Robinson, Roy Campanella, Pee Wee Reese, Gil Hodges, and Duke Snider, but they were better known for their team style of play rather than the individual achievements of their stars.
For more information, or if you'd like to order a DVD of 1955 7 Days of Fall with additional never-before-seen footage, call 1-800-983-8712 or log on to www.fastfocus.tv.